Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So back again for another week. This will be the last full week that I have before my CJ4 lease expires. So we'll see where we get. If I get to the point where I get 300,000 or something, I'll be in pretty good shape, I think. But we'll see how it goes. Probably going to fly a couple different groups today. That seems to be what works out before it starts diverting me to threes, and it's also, taking an hour and a half, 2 hours, where I'm usually running out of time anyway. So make sure, I probably should refuel. So let me do that. So we want to do Stratocaster Aviation. Question is, are we going to fly enough? We probably will. So there we go. It only takes us down to 249, but that should give us 6-7 flights, round trips, because it seems to use about 5% or so, as long as I'm under the 100. I'm going to go ahead and get this flown. So I'm going to Kilo Alpha Bravo, India. So I'm going to go that way, and basically, again, 10 passengers out, 10 passengers in. You know the drill. See you in a bit. Okay, 262,000. Now we're going to fly to Echo 48, which we've done before as well. Again, 10 passengers out, 10 passengers in. See you in a bit. All right, we're rolling to a stop here. And just barely over 275,000, but yes, definitely stopping at this point. Got the couple easy missions done. Continue to feel very much like just the whole process of the Fseconomy thing definitely leaves a lot to be desired in the excitement standpoint. It's pretty basic. One of the things I did notice, I've been watching, because kind of when you sign in, it shows you how many people are logged in, which basically would mean that would be folks that could be actively flying. There were only 30, and that was probably a little bit heavier than normal. So I'd say 20 to 25 is all you ever really see on, which compared to sometimes other VAs or anything like that is not much. And given the more unique nature of this than a virtual airline, I think it just shows how few people are still participating in this career ecosystem for flight simulation. And keep in mind, too, that Fseconomy versus something like NeoFly that is Microsoft Flight Simulator specific, Fseconomy can be used across multiple flight simulators. So in theory, that should maybe push things up a little bit. But in any event, I'm done for now, and I will see you in a bit. Back here for Fseconomy. We're getting close to the end here. It's Friday before. We're down to less than a week before the plane is no longer ours, and running into a bit of interesting things, because I haven't actually been on in nearly a week. So it's been not a whole lot of flying that I've been doing. And it's not that I've been doing other flying. And the challenge ends up being, so that's the thing I found. So I've got my first flight here, and I would think, having not gone in a while, that there'd be quite a bit of things here. There's actually only one flight that just has one leg, which is actually worse than I've seen. I was expecting maybe to be able to do 4 or 5. So, I mean, it will impact what I'm going to be able to do because just of the amount of time that I have to get in here. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to stretch this one a little bit longer than a week because it doesn't make a lot of sense to potentially have another episode that might have almost nothing in it. I don't know how much time I'm going to have in the next few days that I'm going to devote to this, because once again, I've really got more than enough for what my target is, so my motivation isn't super high to get in here, knowing that part of what I'm also going to be trying to figure out is when do I want to dabble in poking it on air, because I think I'm going to make that decision first before I get too much further into Fseconomy. You know, I might go ahead and pick up the plane, but either way, it would be a nice episode to just start where I'm ready to go ahead and pick up the plane, wherever that is, and then go from there. So I'm going back to the Air Force Base, but the disappointing thing is coming back, I don't even have 10 passengers. So it's going to be, it's not going to be $7,800 both ways. It's going to be less than that. So that's going to make things even less lucrative. I was hoping that I could get myself to 300,000, but we'll see if that works out today. Back here, almost 287,000. Even though it says it took a little over a half hour, it's just taken me about an hour and a half because I had all kinds of problems. So I'm not actually sure I'm going to go and do anything else, because I think the next options again are a multiple run, and that's going to take a good hour, and I don't know that I have that available right now. So yeah, it actually looks like everything that's left, so I don't know if things are expiring or whatever, but everything that's left is basically, I guess it's 3 pieces. It looked like 4, but and you're moving small amounts and so forth, and just not sure that it's worth it, because I'm still feeling like this is probably my last choice of something I'm going to stay super active in. I think I'm going to pack it up for now, but as I said, even though this would normally be the end of the week, this is the last day, and so I'd probably be wrapping this up. I may fly more over the next few days, but basically I've got the plane for like 3 more days. I can maybe get some flights in, but if I do not, either way, I'll be back, and then we'll talk about where things ended up. So I'll see you in a bit. I am back here, Fseconomy. This is my last day with the plane, so it is the end of the month. If I can, I've got 4 different legs I can run, just there and back, including one to a place I've not been. Other than that, I'm repeating things, so I am going to go ahead at this point and fly to Tango 49, which I've been to many times. And I think we're going to get 10 both ways, yes. So I'm going to go fly that, and I will be back. So just under 300,000 here, finishing the first set. So the other thing I'm trying to see is I'm hoping I can do this without refueling. I mean, at a minimum, I'm not going to put a ton of fuel in, because once again, I want to leave enough that someone can do something, but they're also at an airport where they can get fuel, as opposed to where I picked up this plane 2 months ago. This is where things get interesting, I suppose. So in theory, I would assume maybe somebody else is active out of this airport today, because the next one I should have been able to fly would have taken me up to KABI again, which is Abilene, Texas, and those appear to have vanished. So initially I didn't refresh my data in FSE Planner and just was like, well, I've got these 4 I want to fly. So the one in between is still there with E48, but it's about $100 less in total, or $1,000 less in total than I can make for the slightly longer one to Odessa, which is the new location that hasn't been there before. So I'm going to grab the flight to Odessa and back, and if the other one to E48 is still left when I come back, that's fine. I think if they vanish when I come back, it'll probably be indicative someone else might be doing exactly the same thing I am. They're kind of flying in and out of here, and they're actively grabbing things, and then they just grab the next highest one that I would have taken, and so I'm guessing once again they're going to do the same thing. And so I felt, well, rather than fly to E48 and then hope that ODO is there. Since that's the one that makes the most, that I'll go ahead and do ODO first, and if E48 is still left, I'll handle it, and if not, then maybe that's where I'll stop, because either way, I'm going to be over 300,000 at that point, and I certainly can make that with the fuel I have and probably not have to do anything. But we'll see where it is, but I'm going to go to Odessa and back, again 10 passengers each way, and I will see you in a bit. All right, we are coming to a stop. And I am now at 313,000. All right, and I am going to be able to go to E48 and back. I've only got 9 passengers to go to E48, so that was also part of why it made a little bit less, about $1,000 less, because they're shorter trips. You know, they were basically about $25 less per passenger. I am going to go ahead and get this part done, and that will be the last flight. And then we'll have a little bit of a chat. And just as quickly, I've had some second thoughts. So I was somewhat assuming that this E48 would be gone. And at the end of the day, I really would have been okay with that. And so I am running out of time in my window right now. So I am actually going to go ahead and say, I'm done. And so what I'm going to cover at this point now is just my feelings between my career options right now. So it probably helps to level set a little bit of just how I weigh decisions one way or the other. And it's really in anything, you know, it's in my job when I'm hiring folks and I'm interviewing different folks. It's in what I'm going to get for dinner, for takeout, and it's in this case of what am I going to spend my time on when I'm using Microsoft Flight Simulator and I want to go ahead and fly in some sort of a career mode. Typically, as people, we've got one choice. It's the whole opportunity cost thing in accounting and so forth, that, you know, if I choose to do this thing, I'm therefore choosing not to do everything else that I could do instead, because I can only do one thing at a time. So if I'm flying with Fseconomy, I can't fly with NeoFly, you know, at the same time. I mean, I could obviously use both of them together, but then I'm alternating between the two. It's the same argument about, can people multitask? And science will tell you the simple answer to that is no. You're simply switching back and forth between things. You're still only thinking about and doing something in any second on one item at a time. So you're not multi-threaded like a computer, even though humans like to think that somehow some people are especially gifted. No, they're just very good at keeping things organized and switching between things quickly and not having a ton of wasted time. Now where was I? Now where was I? That's the only difference. Anyway, digressing. So right now, my 2 career mod choices are Fseconomy and NeoFly. Right now, NeoFly wins hands down, and let me explain kind of why I'm not that thrilled with Fseconomy. Again, in 2005 when it came out, it was probably the greatest thing available. It's probably the only thing available. And so it got a following. I've been carefully monitoring through the month how busy it is and so forth. And I've flown at various times of the day. I've flown in the morning, I've flown in the afternoons, I've flown at night. I really don't see anything different between 15 to 20 people on at a time logged in. This is not a hopping economy. But in the end, that doesn't much matter because I don't have any interaction with people in this economy either, other than they may have set things up which create, they may have, you know, they may own FBOs which create jobs for me, so forth and so on. Now, what Fseconomy does really well, and it's probably more visible with something like FSE Planner, you know, so once again, if I go here, this is Texas. All I have loaded are jobs that are related to the Texas region. So there's obviously things leaving Texas going out. So you can see they're not, bi-directional arrows in that case because they're leaving. But as far as creating a good facsimile of a vibrant, living economy, I think Fseconomy does what it needs to do. Clearly this would kind of mimic in the real world. There are all these needs for aircraft to do something at this moment in Texas. 841 routes when I last updated this before the last flight, of which the one to E48 is just one of them. And this is the one I did. That's the one I could do. But again, it's just kind of going back out. So the fact that it's text-based, the fact that while it interfaces with Microsoft Flight Simulator to track the flight and know that I did it, other than that, there's nothing happening in Microsoft Flight Simulator that changes things. And that's where NeoFly, I would say, has a step up. And NeoFly is newer, so there were more capabilities. They probably linked more directly to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 versus older versions like FSX and so forth that maybe didn't have the ability with APIs to get as much information out, or people weren't as skilled, whatever it is. But obviously when I go in, there's audio, there's the dispatcher who talks to me. There is also the tie to the weights and balances that I need to set, and that I then get extra experience. If I choose not to, fine, I forego that little bit of experience and so forth. And then also, there's more detail, and the interface is just a bit richer in the fact that it's more graphical. I can see what's going on. I can then progress through different qualifications of planes. One of the things I've talked about here is that Fseconomy tends to be, like the plane I'm flying now is kind of the pinnacle of what you'd normally be doing in Fseconomy. You're never going to get to the point in a career mode where you're going to start flying commercial jets and so forth. You can do that, or at least those planes are available in NeoFly. I imagine it will take a long time to get there, and maybe one of these days I will, and we'll document it and we'll fly along together as I go through that or something. We'll see how that goes. But it's all those things. So then in the comparison, so as I said, the decision-making process I usually do is a very simple one. Of these two choices, which one do I prefer? And then I eliminate the other one, and then if I have something else to compare it to, then I've got that new quote-unquote gold standard of this is what I'm spending time on. I'm evaluating this alternative, and I do the same thing and compare those two. If the new thing is worse than the thing I'm using, I discard the new thing and stick with what I'm using. Or in this case, if NeoFly I'm enjoying more Fseconomy, I somewhat discard Fseconomy. Now I will say I am still intrigued, and I'm likely still going to go forward at some point with purchasing a plane in Fseconomy and giving that a shot and seeing if that changes the dynamic any. I don't know that it would, because really the only difference between owning a plane and leasing a plane is kind of the visibility and the control I have. The experience of flying and using the career mod is not really going to be significantly different, I don't think. But what I want to see is just the process of buying the plane and so forth. And then again, at $1,000 a month or something, I think it should be pretty easy for me to go ahead and fly once a month or something and get enough to basically pay for my plane and just tread water if I want to do that. And then eventually I can sell the plane off and whatever. But that was partially why I'm like, why am I going to take this route to E48, stress myself out of trying to squeeze this in, when at the end of the day it doesn't look like I'm going to spend a lot of my focus here. Because again, I do have a new shiny object to look at with on air to compare then. And then again, I will do that comparison between NeoFly and on air. Once again, the thing that I'm looking for there is I need a good 7-day period where I can really say, all right, I'm going to be working on air at kind of at the expense of everything else to get enough of a feel for it. But even with I think eight flights I've done, plus I've done some other testing in NeoFly, you know, or I shouldn't say testing, but I've played with it a while. You know, I've gotten the qualification already. You know, those are things I haven't done on the channel. So I've got enough exposure to NeoFly now that I understand the differences, and I just prefer that. Because like right now, like I can't fly this plane in NeoFly. I'm not qualified. There's nothing like that here in FSC Planner, so I can just jump in and I can fly the plane. So this really is just giving you a reason to fly here, but it's not as immersive as NeoFly. So that is my summation to some degree. I could probably go on and on with other little pieces here and there, but I just wanted to wrap this up because I really don't know when the next Fseconomy video will be regarding the planes and so forth, because I may really wait until I do the comparison of on air and NeoFly, and that may take another month or something. So it may be a bit till you see anything on Fseconomy. If you've gotten into the habit of, hey, I've seen this coming out every week or so, and there will be another one, and you're looking for it, it's not going to be there. So at this point, I'm putting it on the back burner to come back to for, at minimum, just understanding what's going on. But it may turn into, you know, a monthly video of, hey, I flew this one flight and paid my plane. I mean, I don't know that anyone would even be interested in that, but just in the sake of completeness and letting people know what's happening, you know, putting out a video, and again, with it being the Cessna 172, you know, maybe it'll be I'll do the full flight or something that pays me that, because if I can carry the 3 passengers or whatever at a, you know, $800 like I did here, that'll make me the money I need. So anyway, digressing as always, but that is where I'm at, so I'm going to wrap up here. If you've enjoyed this, please drop a like. It helps with the pickup of the channel, lets people know there's things to look at. I get that this series is not necessarily continuing, but it's still an indication, hey, there's this interesting stuff out here. And then if you're not a subscriber, please consider that as well. And I will see you next time.